Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Brahma Miristraparam Takare Anushashi Bumisata Buddhasha Gurusha Shukra Shani Rahu Keteva Sarve Graha Shantikara Bhavantu. Om Om Hrim Mangalaya Namah. Om Hrim Mangalaya Namah. Om Hrim Mangalaya Namah. Om Dum Durgaye Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Well, thank you and greetings and welcome to another episode of KozmicKev100. This is your weekly video astrozine or videozine for astrology, and it's mostly according to the tropical zodiac Western traditions, but I do throw in my knowledge of Jyotish, the sidereal zodiac, which is more astronomically correct. So most of you, are probably thinking, oh yeah, I'm an Aries, this and that, I'm born April 12th, blah, 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 or something, and it's like, well, actually, you're really, if you're born April 10th, you're probably a Pisces in the sidereal zodiac, and so this is a kind of an amazing week, because certainly by around the, this is the last week of sidereal Pisces. And, by the 14th, the sun will go into sidereal Aries. And, and last week, the Venus got into sidereal Taurus. Well, it's going into tropical Gemini this week on Monday, so that's why I already placed it, Venus in Gemini, because it's just moving over there on Monday, which I believe is the 10th, and Monday night, Pacific Daylight Time. So April 7th, we've got a moon in the constellation of Libra in the tropical sign of Scorpio. And the lunar mansion in Vedic astrology that the moon is in is known as Swati. And before I go any further in this, I just want to say, please don't hesitate to subscribe. I need more subscribers. Like, share this video. I want to thank you for the comments I've gotten, and I want to welcome one of my new subscribers, Lasting Beauty. Thanks for your comments and for tuning in a couple weeks ago, and to Shant, and to all the other viewers, the regulars, who come up with comments and whatnot. Thank you for being here. So, and I'm going to try not to say Om so much, as my friend David said, don't say Om. I'm like, okay. I mean, other than when I'm doing my Oms, right? So yeah, subscribe, like. So let's talk about Swati. Friday, of course, always is a Venus day, so today's Friday. I mean, actually, when I recorded this, it was a Tuesday. That's why I'm in red today. To honor Lord Mangala, to honor Mars, and Venus days, it's pastels, white, generally speaking, is what we wear on Friday. Swati's all within the constellation of Libra. Swati's ruled by the north node of the moon. North node of the moon is often called Rahu in sidereal astrology, Vedic astrology. And it is the head of the demon snake that has no bottom. So consequently, Rahu does things, makes us do things that we think are going to satisfy us, but there's really no satisfaction, so we keep going. It's like a desire that has no bottom. There's a lot of innovation here in Swati. And they say that this is the nakshatra or lunar mansion of billionaires. Like Bill Gates' sun sign is in Swati. I know. another one on the Epstein Island team. It's interesting, and I noticed today here in the studio we have a leaky roof. Oh my goodness! And Swati brings results. Swati's symbol is coral. Coral affects an environment, and it's also affected by its environment. So it's like really important for Swati people to be in good company, so they don't wreck themselves. You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And that's a really good thing for all of us. It's like, what kind of people do we keep company with? If they're not good people, then we need to change that. A lot of people looking for dating relationships will go to bars. Well, what are bars? They're temples to alcohol abuse. Not really the highest vibration. I saw the series Cheers. Everybody seemed really fun there. And I'm not a prohibitionist, but I'm looking at what our habits are and how are they going to bring us to a better place. Swati really asks that question. Swati's ruler is Vayu. Vayu is the wind god, and another symbol is a tender reed coming out of the ground. A tender reed coming out of the ground needs a lot of nurturing to make things work, So how do we put ourselves in a nurturing environment? Of course, tomorrow moon will be in Vishaka. It's a little stronger, When the sun's in Swati, it's debilitated, and Swati time of year is like October 23rd to November 2nd, or maybe 3rd or 4th, maybe something like that. Maybe about November 4th. Sounds about right. What can we do? To nurture good qualities. And that's the thing, Now, right now, the sun in the sidereal zodiac being Pisces, but Western zodiac, of course, this is based on seasons. So this is Aries season. So every single time you see, a planet or in one of these things, it's based on seasons. It's not based on where you're going to look at it in a telescope. And with that said, thank you for being here. Aries, we're going to get into your horoscope right away. I know that's what you're waiting for. So, we've got Mars. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. Mars is in the 4th house. Mars is in Cancer. Mars is considered to be debilitated in Cancer. 4th house is home. It is the ancestors. It is fixed assets. It is your history, your knowledge of history. It's a place of memory. For those of us who are adults who are probably over 45, we'll say to us, oh man, I remember when I was so strong. There's some pretty, I've seen some pretty strong 70-year-olds, I've seen some, even people in their mid-70s are still rocking quite a bit of strength, but that probably depends on the kind of habits you're in your 30s and 40s, if you're going to make it that far. So, right now, there's a lot of feeling of maybe isolation, dealing with family issues, especially parents, older relatives, and it's also kind of like your rebirth. You're kind of starting out again. Where am I going to go? Where am I moving to in life? How can I help myself and others as I go about things? The money picture is looking pretty good. Like you're doing good economically. Although there's a lot of sudden shifts. Uranus being near Mercury, there's an element of genius and innovation. So you might have some really great ideas right now, but there's also like with things like cryptocurrency or potential digital currency, things like that. That is going to really shake things up, especially with North Node being there, you know, it is like there could be an element of deception around money. So it's just like be really careful. I wouldn't just like move real quick with any one thing. You know, I know we're hearing a lot, but I would use some caution. Okay. All right. So, greetings, Taurus. Welcome to your horoscope. Okay, so you know, Taurus, things are about Venus. So Venus is moving out of your first house into your second house Monday night. First house makes you good looking, makes you feel a little more relaxed. It brings kind of nice people in your life. Good looking, graceful, elegant people. What happens when it moves in the second house? Well, it makes you want to crave sweets more, craving luxury items, things that you might not necessarily need, and sometimes luxury things come to you anyhow. You know, because Venus rules luxury, so it's like that's something important to look at. But here's the other thing, though. I mean, Aries time for Taurus is 12th house. 12th house is a house of losses. It's where we dissolve everything, you know, it's before we have that new start that we're looking for. So the sun's not going to be in Taurus until the 20th of April, you know, so that's next week. And so for the next week and a half, it's like you really need to, you know, almost 2 weeks, kind of guard yourself. And, you know, there's an eclipse coming next week, too. And that's also in the 12th house. So, I mean, I think it's just like practice your spiritual life. Pray a lot. Lay low. Don't overestimate. Don't be overconfident. Just do the practical things you normally would, but don't do anything new. You know, we're in a waning moon cycle right now, too, folks. I mean, this is where we just finish things off. We don't really start new stuff at this kind of conjuncture. All right. Greetings, Gemini. Welcome to your horoscope. So, Mercury is in Taurus, and Mercury will go retrograde next week. That's what I've heard. Like all the Mercury retrogrades this year are in Earth signs. So, boy, that could really change the picture of money because Mercury has a lot to do with money and finances. And I've heard some people say it's Venus. I mean, Venus has a lot of association with our needs, but I think it's a much more broader perspective. Like when I think of currency or I think of technology, I think more of Mercury. And toys. I think of Mercury in terms of toys too. Like what kind of delights us mentally when we're playing with things. Aries time for Gemini is social life. It's the 11th house. It's also a house where you could make some money. So, you know, you might have some good ideas financially, and I think it's okay for you to act on them, but also look at what we've got here. Mercury's in the 12th house, you know, so that too is like, look at your spiritual life. Uranus is there. Things could change quickly. North Node's here. That's a shadow planet, you know, sometimes shadowy activities. I mean, since the internet, there have been more shadowy ways to lose money, have money stolen from you, have money taken away from you, be deceived about some kind of scam. It's a really scary time, and I never think I've ever seen a place in the world where I felt like it was more predatory than ever. Things were pretty simple in the old days. I mean, warring nations would come in and rob and take stuff. You know, occasionally there were thieves and swindlers, but it wasn't the kind of widespread ability because, you know, you reach a lot of people on the web. And it becomes bigger in life and it's harder to detect where things are coming from. So, you know, but keeping good community, having good friends, older siblings, mentors, former bosses, teachers that have helped you. Those are good people to hang out with now. All right, well, greetings, Cancer, and welcome to your horoscope. Mars and, I'm sorry. Mars in Cancer is, it's a debilitated Mars, but because it's in your first house, it's like Mars in Cancer works well for you. So you're able to get rid of evil in your life. You're able to dig in the garden because Mars is Lord of the Earth. So you're able to do things that are more oriented towards the practical. Following a practical path. Doing things, having discipline in your own life. If you've been out of shape, I know, round is a shape, I've heard it before. Some people are really offended by that, but it's like, we shouldn't be offended, we should mostly take notice. You know, we were told that during the pandemic getting a shot was important when statistically not being diabetic, not being overweight was, at this point, looks like it was more important, and we did nothing about that. Nothing about that at all. And so we have an opportunity now, especially if you're rising sign Cancer, if your sun sign's Cancer, your moon sign Cancer, it's like, this is it, folks. You can do better. Most all of us can. And some of you are already on that disciplined path. You're doing yoga, you're eating right, you're really taking care of yourself. Most people that do that, they've already faced some kind of accident, injury, sickness, illness, comorbidity. It tends to take crisis to move us in a better place. Now, Moon in Scorpio this weekend, at least today and Saturday, is good for you. You know, you're feeling creative, you're engaged with your children. This is going to be overall a very productive week where you get things done. Venus in the 12th house. It is, I said, again. It is, so good, they caught me. It is a place where it's easy to be fooled by others, especially people who are very Venetian. Women, they're artists, so you know, you just have to take that with a grain of salt. Okay, hello Leo, and welcome to your horoscope. So, I think besides career and our personal goals, I mean, relationships are probably like the biggest thing in our life. So, when you have a sun in Leo, especially if you're like a Leo born the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th of July, Pluto is opposite your sun. So, you're getting this residual of transformation, of change, and it generally goes in the 7th house of relationships, partnerships. It could relate to career, it could be a career partnership, so there's this transformation going on. Now what I think is interesting is that Aquarius is an air sign, but it rules taking water with you. How to get water, dams, reservoirs, things like that are holding water. That's ruled by Aquarius, and so my prediction is that whole way of dealing with water is going to change over the next 20 years when we have Pluto in Aquarius. The other thing it deals with, because of its association with Uranus, is technology and energy. So that aspect of human conduct is going to change dramatically with Pluto in Aquarius. And the other thing is that Aquarius is about other human beings, especially those who've been left out of the equation, you know, because it is still a Saturn-ruled sign, even though it's co-ruled by Aquarius. And astrologers would say, oh, Aquarius is just Uranus. I'm going to say you're full of it. Look how many conservative Aquarians, for one thing, have been. Like Ronald Reagan, Aquarius president. I mean, that's a prime example. Extremely saturnal in a lot of ways. Yeah, I know he had a Star Wars thing, and he was crazy. Okay. He was crazy charming. But Aquarius is about helping other human beings move forward. And you're a Leo, okay? Leo's like the queen, king of the zodiac, basically. I'll say queen because most of you are sidereal cancers. For some reason, tropical Leos often don't like that, you know. If you're born like after the 16th of August, you don't have to worry about that. You later Leos are Leos in both systems, so you're the real deal. But you earlier ones, you know, one of the things I notice is that Leos, there I did it again, they do many things really well. And when you do, and I attribute that to sidereal Cancer, because the moon is all over the place. It goes through every sign of the zodiac in a month, okay? The sun's very stable. Sun's the most stable luminary. You know, it does not go void of course. It just stays on track for the most part. And so we count on the sun to reliability because it guides all the other planets. All the other planets are under the gravitational pull of the sun. I mean, look at this. This is mostly career stuff right now and your relationship to the public and other people. Here's the good news. Aries is where the sun is exalted. You're looking good. You're seeming smarter than ever. You're doing better than ever. I'll just leave it at that. Quit while I'm ahead. Go to Virgo now. And so I can say hello again to my lasting beauty, new viewer. Aries time for Virgo. It is the 8th house. 8th house is a Dusthana house. Dusthana houses are the 6th, the 8th, and the 12th. Now this is a Vedic astrology term, but I think it relates to Western tropical astrology because I've been studying this stuff for 41 years, folks. A long time now. And they would say the same thing. They're the most difficult houses to negotiate. But they all have their own special rewards if you know how to use them the right way. The 8th house is when you need to ask help from other people. It's humbling, especially if you're like a Leo or something, you know, and most Virgos are. They're sidereal Leos. So it's like for Virgo, it's like, I mean, you do humble work, you're helping other people, but you know, you're very DIY, do-it-yourself, from what I've observed. And you're very knowledgeable, you're very analytical. You tend to be one of the sharpest knives on the block. How do you want to negotiate these next 13 days? Ask for help. This is for myself too. I'm a Virgo rising in tropical. I need to ask for help. And when I ask for help, is it good karma to ask for help? I mean, it might not be if you do it all the time, but generally speaking it is, because it gives another person an opportunity to have good karma by helping you. And you know, life is not only about giving, it is about receiving as well. When it gets out of balance, that's when things get whacked. Right now is the time when you need to receive. And some of the things you receive are everything you receive is going to be out of your control, because that's what the 8th house is. It's other people's money, other people's power. It's sex, death, birth. There's and occult studies. So a lot of prayer, fasting, approaching it that way. It's not going to hurt. It's going to prevent things from getting worse. Mercury and Taurus, not a bad position for you. It's 9th house. You're smart as ever. You understand what you need to do. Just move slow and do it. Greetings, Libra, and welcome to your horoscope. So, you know, here we have Venus. Venus is moving into Gemini. So that's out of the 8th into the 9th house. That's actually pretty pleasant, you know. I mean, the 8th house could be pretty lusty, which is sort of nice in a lot of ways, but it's also a little bit out of control. And once Venus goes into the 9th house, it's like, let's take a more educated approach to love and to our needs. Because 9th house is a lot about education, higher knowledge, good teachers. You're engaging in an art class. You're going to enroll in learning how to play Middle Eastern music or something. This is this is a good thing to do. And Venus in Gemini is going to cooperate with you. In a lot of ways, Venus, Gemini, I mean, there's sort of this wanting to have a soulmate. I mean, Gemini's reputation is sort of aloof and fickle, so, or being in love with more than one person at once. So in a lot of ways, it's not the most stable place, but if you're taking this more white tantric approach to love, I think you'll do really well, which really begins with self-love and seeing yourself as this perfection of what the Creator made, who you are, and that is worthy of perfection and love. Okay, now we go to Scorpio. Greetings, Scorpio. Welcome to your horoscope. So this weekend was meant for Scorpio because Moon is in Scorpio, and it'll be there until early Sunday morning when it goes into Sagittarius. So Friday and Saturday, you've got the power. And I think you're going to be doing really well. At least that's my take on it, and allowing yourself to do well. So let's look at Mars. You know, I know there's Pluto has some association too, but you know, it's still a Mars-ruled sign. You know, you're one of the defenders of the zodiac. You're a defender in water signs, so you have both masculine and feminine qualities in Scorpio. That's the way it goes. You know, there's both masculine and feminine qualities in Libra too. You're a sidereal sign for most of you, not all of you. So what we're looking at here is Mars is in Cancer. That's your 9th house. So it's like taking risk. You know, Mars gets activated by the 3rd house, which is opposite of the 9th. 9th house is a much more educational approach. Learn how to exercise the right way. Learn how to do yoga the right way. Like Iyengar yoga is a really good yoga. And getting physical education from the experts. And experts never go to one, go to a broad spectrum. Look at all different types of traditions and relationships. That way you'll come up with the most information. And then you'll find something that's suitable for you and works with you. Venus moving in out of your 7th house into the 8th house, you know, it's just like the whole love-making, the libido, the horniness gets a lot more intensified. And especially for like males, it tends to be the most intense in April and May, from what I've read and heard. It's, you know, the sap is flowing, things are growing. There's less attire on your female counterparts, and the male sexual response tends to be very visual. And so, you know, if you're not there, you won't understand it. Although now, because of certain kinds of medications that allow people to explore what it would be like to be other genders and stuff, with a great cost to their own longevity, of course, but, you know, they don't tell you that because they're trying to sell you something. Yikes. Well, anyhow, there's a lot more. What I think the good side of this type of movement of non-binary is there's more empathy towards other genders that might not be your biologically ascribed one. So empathy is a good thing. You know, whenever we relate better to each other, that's going to be a good thing. Losing your health to a condition, it's really hard to say. I mean, politically, culturally, you're not supposed to question it at all, or we have bad names for you that we can share. I don't think that's very healthy, to be honest with you, because people learn better when they're not being called names. Yeah, when you stop somebody from learning and say, you're a this, you're a that, you're a something else, you're canceling that person, and you're actually kind of degrading their humanity, even though if you feel they degraded yours, it's, you know, it really isn't helping anybody get better. And so I would really discourage that type of thing, because we want everyone to come together with soul integrity, that we all love each other, regardless of what our sexual practices, our cultural backgrounds, our ethnic backgrounds. You know, we're all family ultimately, and love is the key, folks. So that was my tangent. Stay in love. Right, so here we are. Sagittarius. Jupiter in the 5th house, Karaka for the 5th house, activator of the 5th house. You're learning really well, and your relationship with your children should be good. It should continue to go that way. Let's talk about Aries Sun, 5th house. Fun, self-expression, teaching others, learning, traveling, all of these things that you love are going to be great. So, Mercury and Taurus, it's like watching your health, getting better. Venus moving into the 7th house, into Gemini. It's going to be great. Your love life gets better. I would still pay attention to the health thing. And Mars in the 8th house, there's this element of impatience now that you have to watch out for. All in all, though, I'd say for Sagittarius, mostly things are positive, going good. Okay. Well, that was short, but here we go. Capricorn. Yeah. Mars in the 7th house. Tropical astrology, they say that open enemies can show up in the 7th house. Vedic astrology, 7th house is a Maraca house. You know, sometimes things kind of die here, or they sort of stagnate. I mean, 7th house is a powerful house because it's like symbolic of sunset. It's symbolic of partnerships. So this is like where you have the really, you know, either the lazy woman or the lazy man whose partner is suddenly exercising like crazy and getting themselves in shape. And they're like, I don't care, that's good for them. It's also like conflict. You know, conflict where your partner's all of a sudden like, hey, didn't you say you were going to fix my car this week and you didn't do it, honey? Or, honey, didn't you promise you'd sew my jacket for me? Or that type of confrontation. You know, Mars really has in it this element of accountability. And Mars doesn't mess around. People that I know that are Mars Lagnas, at least in Vedic astrology, Scorpio Lagna, which is rising sign, or Aries Lagna, rising sign, they tend to have their stuff together pretty well. That's been my own observation. Western astrology, I think it's a little different, and I could explain that later. But anyhow, for you Capricorns who are mostly sidereal, Sagittarius is... reason why Mars is debilitated in Cancer is because it's opposite where it's exalted in Capricorn. Capricorn's an earth sign that does practical things and it's motivated. Cancer does emotional things and it's motivated by sentiment and it's motivated by emotion. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But, I mean, your focus is being nurturing to your partner, being tolerant, being a peacemaker, then everything will go good. Okay. Greetings, Aquarius. Welcome to your horoscope. Well, you got a lot of insights now, and you're looking at the world and the planet like you've never looked at it before. It's important, and we need that fresh view, and we need that overview. If you think you're looking at change through political parties, things like that, Democrats, Republicans, oh my God, you are so far away from the truth, because let's face it, these people are owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, the biggest corporations in the world, and the bankers, and they're manipulating the whole game, and even if one seems slightly better or whatever, they are the Judas Iscariots of the Zodiac. They are going to sell you out for 30 pieces of silver, I will promise you that. They don't care. They don't care. Even in my city council meetings in Chico, it's obvious these people do not care. Maybe Addison does, you know. He's young enough, he's naive enough that He hasn't been tainted by these things, and he's also got really great ideas. I like to support those great ideas, but he's in an uphill battle. He's with very greedy, sold out by the lowest common denominator cohorts that have zero empathy for those without. It's all their own fault. I would say that would be true if we all started out with, you know, 100 grand in the bank, like probably a lot of their parents did and whatnot, or they made it somehow. But a lot of people, to say that all things are equal, a lot of people have like, you know, 90-pound cement bags on their back. They're not able to move as quick or do things as easily. They're supporting family. They're supporting other people. They're in debt. They've been crippled by the social constructs. Sometimes it's their own fault. I mean, everything's our own fault because we're here, right? You have a lot of insights. You want people to have a just, happy, good life. Mars in the 6th house helps you get in shape. That's a good thing. Moon this weekend in Scorpio, you're doing some of your best work. You're showing, you know, you'll probably have a good performance if you're musically inclined. Saturn and Neptune in the 2nd house, it's like, what am I doing with my assets? I might have to change liquid assets to make them more solid. Jupiter, you're making good friendships, you're making good connections. That's going to continue, and Sun in Aries emphasizes that. Ah, yes, last but not least, Pisces. It was so funny because I had this comment of some Pisces saying, "Where's Pisces?" And I'm pretty sure I've done Pisces every week, and I went and looked at the last one. Sure enough, Pisces was there, and I thought, you know, so my comment was, you must have went to the bathroom or something or had a drink. Pisces, drinking. I mean, these are the more mundane, unfortunately negative stereotypes of a sign of the zodiac. When you're really sensitive, the world becomes a painful place, and it's easy to want to escape. And alcohol and opiates are probably the most effective, numbing, not caring drugs available to mankind. And we've only gotten better at them, especially in the pharmacopoeia department. They're dangerous though, they're deadly, and either of those things can kill you. Alcohol actually will probably do some of the most permanent damage because it affects the liver so badly, as well as killing brain cells. But it's more socially acceptable. I mean, there's these temples called bars that people go to. You know, you've heard the old saying, you know, church for food and liquor for salvation. People in poverty know what that means. You're in this place now, though, where it's about dealing with practicalities, dealing with money, dealing with what your values are, dealing with your family in some ways, because 2nd house is also family. Things that affect throat, mouth, lower face, all of these things are more activated. Jupiter, 2nd house. You could make a lot of money right now. You could actually improve your finances, or you're finding ways to expand and improve your finances. That's all legit. And so, moving forward, Mars is in your 5th house. I mean, Mars in the 5th house isn't that bad. Mars in the 5th house is going to give you, have you paying more attention to your male children. It's going to give you a sense of energy, a sense of passion towards creative projects you have. That's perfect for a Pisces. So, bringing more creative energy forward is to your benefit. The moon being in Scorpio, it's 9th house. It's like it's likely you'll travel this weekend. And, you know, with Mars in Cancer, moon in Scorpio, you being a Pisces, there's kind of this feeling of overall, I'm okay, I got both oars in the water, I'm going to make it. And you are going to make it. And even though we're in this waning moon cycle now, where things are diminishing, let's just finish things off in the best way possible. I so appreciate you all for being here with me this week. Before I go, we'll just kind of have a wrap up of what's happening this week. This is the last week of sidereal Pisces. We have a week and a half of tropical Aries still left after this week, so this is all Aries this week in the tropical, more common horoscope sense. And we're going to have something completely new next week. We'll talk about it next week. Until then, Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat. Namaste.